this video, we're talking about rounding, how to round decimal numbers and how to round whole numbers. And the process we're going to follow every time for rounding a number is to first identify the place to which we're rounding the number, and then look at the number directly to the right of that place and figure out whether that number is 5 or greater or 4 or less. If it's 5 or greater, we're going to round up. If it's 4 or less, we're going to round down. So here's what that looks like. In this first set of examples here, we've been asked to round to the hundredths place. Remember that the hundredths place is the second place after the decimal. So it's this spot right here. This is the hundredths place, the second spot after the decimal. We distinguish that from the hundredths place, which is the second spot to the left of the decimal as opposed to the right of the decimal. So here we've been asked to round to the hundredths place. We need to round to that place, and basically that just means get an approximation of this number to the hundredths place. So what we want to do is, now that we've identified the hundredths place, we want to look at the number directly to the right of the hundredths place. So that's here, here, and here, the number directly to the right of the hundredths place. And then based on the value of this number, we're going to round the hundredths place. So remember, if it's 5 or greater, we round up and the hundredths place number is going to go up. If it's 4 or less, we round down and that hundredths place number is going to stay the same. In this case, 6 is 5 or greater, which means our hundredths place number is going to round up from 8 to 9. It's going to go up one number from 8 to 9, which means that 6.186 is approximately equal to, rounded to the hundredths place, 6.19. In other words, this number in the hundredths place, 8, went up by 1 to 9. So that's approximately equal to 6.19. If we look at 6.184, we're rounding to the hundredths place, so we're rounding to this spot where the 8 is. We look to the number directly to the right, that's 4. Since it's less than 5, we can say that this is approximately equal to 6.18. Since 4 is less than 5, we're rounding down, so we keep this number in the hundredths place, the 8, the same. And we can even do this with repeating decimals. So if we have 6.181818 repeated on forever, and we want to round to the hundredths place, we still just look at the number that's in the hundredths place, find the number to the right of it, that's 1. Since 1 is less than 5, we round down, and this is approximately equal to 6.18. Keeping the number in the hundredths place, the 8, the same because we rounded down. Let's look at what happens if we round to the tenths place. Remember that the tenths place is the place directly to the right of the decimal, so this is the tenths place. And if we want to round to the tenths place, we're going to look at the number just to the right of the tenths place, this number here, and then we're going to use the value of that number to round to the tenths place. So because 4 is less than 5, we round down. Because this is a 7, which is greater than 5, we round up, and this 2 goes up one spot to 3, and this is approximately equal to 7.3. In other words, the idea with rounding is 7.24 is closer to 7.2, where 7.27 is closer to 7.3. So we're trying to get an approximation, and we're trying to figure out the value to the tenths place that these numbers are closest to. And we can do this with repeating decimals. We have 7.22222 on forever. We want to round to the tenths place, which we've identified here. We look to the number that's directly to the right, that's a 2. Because that's less than 5, we round down, and the tenths place stays what it is, which is a 2 right now, so we get approximately 7.2. 7.2222 on forever is closer to 7.2 than it is to 7.3, so we round it to 7.2. We can even round to the nearest whole number. If you're asked to round to the nearest whole number, that just means you're rounding to the units place or the ones place, which is this place right here. In other words, we're looking to get rid of the whole decimal value and just round to the nearest whole number. So this is going to be the units place. We look at the number that's directly to the right of that, and then we use that to determine how we're going to round. So 8 is greater than 5, which means we round up, and this is going to be approximately equal to 15. 4 is less than 5, so we're going to round down, and this is going to be approximately equal to 14. In other words, 14.816 is closer to 15, where 14.473 is closer to 14. If we had 14.526, let's say, we would identify the number in the units place, look to the number that's directly to the right, and we have a 5. Because that's a 5, and we say if it's greater than or equal to 5, we round up, this is going to be approximately equal to 15. Here we're looking to round to the hundredths place, and we have two whole numbers, 476 and 532. We have to think of these as 476.0 or 532.0. Remember that the hundredths place is the place which is 3 places to the left of the decimal. So the hundredths place is going to be here and here. We look at the number that's directly to the right of that, so these numbers here. And then we say 7 is greater than or equal to 5. So this is going to be approximately 500 because we round up the hundreds place by 1 unit and 4 goes up to 5. So we get 500. Here we have 532. This 3 is less than 5. So we round down, which means the value in the hundreds place stays the same. And this is also approximately 500. In other words, 476 is closer to 500 than it is to 400, and 532 is closer to 500 than it is to 600. So both of these numbers, when we're rounding to the hundreds place, round to 500. Here we're going to round to the tens place, which is 2 places to the left of the decimal. So this is the tens place here. If we look at the number immediately to the right, that's these numbers here, and now we can round. So we can say 2 is less than 5, so this is going to be approximately equal to 10 because we're going to round down, which means we keep the number in the tens place the same, 1, and we round down from 12 to 10. Here, because 7 is greater than or equal to 5, we round up, so the number in the tens place goes up by 1, and we get 20. So you're rounding up or rounding down that number in the tens place, turning everything else into zeros. Here, we're rounding to the nearest tens place. 6 is greater than 5, so we're going to round up and we're going to say 220. 3 is less than 5, so we're going to round down and say 370. It's important to remember that when you're rounding decimal numbers, when you're rounding to the right of the decimal place, any values after the number you rounded are going to disappear. So here we rounded to the hundreds place, which means that all of these numbers here disappeared, and we were just left with a number rounded to the hundredths place, so we had 2 values after the decimal point. So when you're rounding decimals, those numbers disappear. When you're rounding whole numbers, when you're rounding numbers to the left of the decimal place, any values to the right of the number that you rounded are going to become 0. So we rounded here to the hundreds place, which means these became 0. We rounded to the hundreds place, these became 0. Here we rounded to the tens place, which means everything to the right of the tens place is going to become 0 after we do the rounding.